Persuasion.
1.
Advocate. Advocate.
Example.
They also learned how to advocate for their point of view.
For the past decade, I've been an advocate for growing meat in a lab.
2.
Legislation. Legislation.
Example.
The missionary party called a meeting where an all-white militia surrounded and forced the king to sign new legislation.
We had agreed we'd get 120, they'd get 100 because we had the majority, but it would be a balanced vote on the legislation.
3.
Acknowledge. Acknowledge.
Example.
Always acknowledge your child's story as valid and important.
They don't even smile anymore. They don't even acknowledge you anymore.
4.
Publicly. Publicly.
Example.
By forgiving Strowman publicly in the name of Islam and its doctrine of mercy.
While it's a small pocket of resistance on publicly owned land in a giant commercial site.
5.
Widely. Widely.
Example.
The House of Lords will also scrutinize the decisions and actions of the government more widely.
In fact, it's still widely used today, including in online maps.
6.
Dispute. Dispute.
Example.
Days later, Trump again escalated the dispute by placing Chinese telecom giant Huawei on a blacklist.
And this was the first time that the president had used the prestige of his office to try to settle a labor dispute.
7.
Justify. Justify.
Example.
You need to state as high a salary requirement as you can honestly and reasonably justify, but also say that you are flexible and negotiable. I've never been able to justify one though.
8.
Morally. Morally.
Example.
If you do something morally wrong, is it completely your fault?
We can live morally by our own choice, and not because a divine being requires it.
9.
Holy. Holy.
Example.
This isolation resulted in around 90% of the wildlife in Australia being wholly unique to the continent.
This next logo is a logo that has a shared identity with wholly different meanings.
10.
Vigorously. Vigorously.
Example.
Whisk the mixture vigorously, always mixing the edges.
We have worked vigorously on the issue of protecting the minority communities.
11.
Bitterly. Bitterly.
Example.
At the end of a long siege, Pianki entered the conquered city and bitterly criticized the conditions in its stables.
Thus, the war in Vietnam by 1968 had the American people bitterly divided.
Tell.
Object. Object.
Example.
Well, a sphere is a pretty simple object.
When a later recording asked them to identify the uncommon object, toddlers performed better if that instruction contained a filled pause.
13.
Idea. Idea.
Example.
Sometimes it's easier to sing an idea than it is to program it.
It's this idea that when we are at our most creative, we aren't even really creating.
14.
Strongly. Strongly.
Example.
But we strongly believe that contemporary dance is just people moving on stage.
Our judgment is just strongly influenced, unconsciously, by which side we want to win.
15.
Wisdom. Wisdom.
Example.
But as the process unfolded, he began to understand the wisdom of allowing talented people to really play out their passions.
But there is wisdom in looking at the price tags attached to our marital decisions in just the way that divorce law teaches us to do.
16.
Suggest. Suggest.
Example.
I want to suggest that cancel culture needs to change. And instead, we need to move to compassion culture.
While cold-blooded murder is a possibility, the extremity of his injuries suggest a ritual sacrifice.
17.
Poll. Poll.
Example.
But before we start, let's see who won the Twitter poll first, okay?
How can you use it to conduct an accurate poll?
18.
Otherwise. Otherwise.
Example.
Otherwise, you could pronounce it incorrectly for years.
I still valued self-worth above all other worth. And what was there to suggest otherwise?
19.
Tentatively. Tentatively.
Example.
I just started tentatively sending them a few little pieces.
I just recently finished a new series for Maker, tentatively titled Filthy Sexy Teens.
20.
Integrity. Integrity.
Example.
We begin to feel as though we're entering into integrity and wholeness.
Today, a Faustian bargain refers to a trade that sacrifices integrity for short-term gains.